I think we can start. Thank you all for being present and for all of today's speakers. The Dean of Graduate Studies at San Diego State gave an overview last time of U.S. PhD programs, and there was a request to hear more about our specific PhD programs at San Diego State, particularly in STEM, education, and health. So over the next 3 days, we'll be talking about our programs in those areas, and today will be mainly focused on STEM science disciplines, and then we'll go into engineering tomorrow, and health, and education, and some of the other fields, public health on Friday. Well, thank you very much again for being present, for the speakers being present. We have had great attendance at previous meetings. We're looking forward to, over the next 3 days, to talk particularly about San Diego State University's PhD programs in STEM and related areas. Before we start with the program, I'd like to ask Magda Magradzi, the Executive Officer of the Millennium Foundation, to say a few things.
Thank you, Dr. Rochelle. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Very good. So good evening, dear colleagues, and good morning for our American friends and colleagues. As always, it is my great pleasure to say hello and open the different meeting series that SDSU is organizing as part of the U.S. Embassy funded project. And we believe that the workshops that have been organized as part of the State Department grant are very useful. And although originally, of course, we would have liked to see our San Diego State University colleagues in Georgia, and you're always welcome, but I think that the online sessions have been quite successful, and I've attended all of them, and I would like to thank SDSU for pulling this all together in these quite challenging times. Of course, the continuity of San Diego State University partnership in Georgia is our top priority, and we welcome any new initiatives and projects that will contribute to basically keeping this U.S. university in Georgia. I'm also very glad that the Georgian graduate students will have an opportunity to research and continue their PhD studies abroad in the United States once the pandemic is over as part of this project. And I would like to thank the U.S. Embassy colleagues who have joined us today, and the whole U.S. Embassy team for continuous support of San Diego State University, Georgia, as well as the Millennium Challenge Corporation compact activities that continue to be implemented since the compact closed out. So I would like to wish success during today and the 2 more days, tomorrow and the day after, when we will have an opportunity to learn more about research and graduate opportunities at San Diego State University. And I'm very glad that in addition to STEM, you also decided to offer us information about other programs that will basically and greatly contribute to the participants. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great workshop ahead of you. And again, thank you for organizing this, and thank U.S. Embassy for funding it. All the best.
Thanks very much, Magda, and thank you for attending all the sessions and for your support. We really appreciate it. Dr. Anderson from, Mr. Anderson from the U.S. Embassy, new cultural attaché, is here with us. Chris, could you say a few things?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone for participating tonight. I think this is a very interesting and exciting series of discussions. I think the topics and the speakers you have lined up should be very engaging. But I'd also like to just take a moment to remind everyone why we're supporting this excellent project. But I should also start by thanking you guys for hosting this event and for organizing it, and for Magda for her excellent support as always. The US really believes that Georgia's future is tied closely into closer integration with the US and with Europe, and pursuing internationalization, especially in its education system. And we foster a huge range of exchange programs. Right now, we have over 6,000 alumni who have participated in the US exchanges in the past. And if I assume actually many of you participating today have done those, and if you haven't, I encourage you to apply at some point. But we believe that the closer links, that if we can more closely tie Georgia's university and experts with US institutions, that is going to be great for Georgia's future, and that will foster both improved research outcomes, but also economic outcomes. And building that expertise and closely integrating Georgia with the US is going to have dividends over the long term. And so I would ask each of you who benefiting from this program to work hard to develop, to do some strong networking with contacts in the US as you go through this program, but also to maintain your contacts here and to share the knowledge that you're gaining. I think this is a great opportunity. And so I really want to make sure you guys take the most advantage of this. And so just want to close by saying I wish you good luck. I know it is hard virtual, but it looks, this agenda should be very engaging and exciting. So for those of you who have done some of these before, good job keeping up with it. And for the new people, this is very interesting and engaging. So enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chris. We certainly appreciate and couldn't do it without the support of the State Department, and it's very much appreciated. Dr. Guven is the Dean of SDSU Georgia. Halil, could you say a few things?
Yes, thank you, Walt. First of all, Happy New Year. We met last time just before the Christmas. So this is the first of the series of 3 that we have this week. San Diego State University has been in Georgia since 2014. We've been here for over 6 years now. And we currently have 440 students still in our program studying SDSU curriculum in 6 disciplines, 6 STEM disciplines. And we will graduate another 115 students this year. Total graduates will be 250. Our offices that we cannot go now are in Tbilisi. We're in the close to the Shota Rustaveli Boulevard near the Academy of Sciences. So for those of you who have not been to SDSU offices, once we start, we expect you there, and we're ready to support now research mission. I would like to thank Dr. Rochelle for taking on this research capacity building and graduate education in Georgia. And we hope to conclude this year's series sometime in June with the 5th one. So I want to thank the embassy, thank Millennium Foundation and Millennium Challenge Corporation for bringing SDSU to Georgia, and we are here to stay. We were looking at venues of how we can stay in Georgia longer. We have today International Education Center Director Nina Chelidze. We have 7 students now in Georgia, in San Diego, doing PhD in chemistry, biochemistry discipline, and we hope to increase that number in the other disciplines. And we hope that today's and the next 2 days seminars and introductions will open the path, open the way for additional students to travel to San Diego to do PhDs in different areas to support STEM in Georgia. Thank you again for participating, and please keep in mind that we are here to support. So you can reach us at the SDSU office through Anna Tonikiani if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Halil. Well, thank you all for those very supportive and positive remarks. I very much appreciate it. We all do. I would like to give a little context to this because I think we have some new people. many of our involvement started with SDSU Georgia and the compact on, for STEM education at the undergraduate level. But through the course of that, I first traveled as interim dean of science, but I think pretty much everybody that came to Georgia from San Diego State was impressed by a number of things. Certainly the warmth of the people in the country and the potential of the people. I think we all strongly echo Mr. Anderson's comments about a desire for a long-term collaborative relationship. And certainly and I think most people felt that it would be really a shame if all the work and progress that was made during the compact and with SDSU Georgia was not somehow built on and carried on. My passion is graduate education and research, one of my passions, and I particularly wanted to see us expand beyond the undergraduate education into graduate education and strong research ties with Georgian faculty. As I say, that's supported by pretty much everybody I know that's visited Georgia from SDSU, and fortunately by our new president, who is very supportive of long-term interaction with Georgia and commitment to supporting research and education in Georgia. And it's actually one of our priority areas moving forward for the next number of years. So when the State Department call to support STEM education and research came about, of course, we were very interested in applied and fortunately received the funding. And that had several elements, some of which had to be modified because of COVID, but I feel that the mini course remote venue has been very successful, certainly has been very well attended, and the feedback has been positive. And we're looking forward to finding other ways. And of course, we're looking forward to the beginning of reinitiating travel and visas and physical interaction. As I mentioned, today, the next 3 days agenda was in response to requests for more detailed information on San Diego State's PhD programs. Today we'll concentrate on sciences and then tomorrow engineering and computational science with some health, and then on education and public health. Our first speaker today, though, will talk about some of the funding opportunities from the Georgian side that are available for students from Georgia to study internationally. And I think that this can be helpful to make these exchanges happen when we again are able to travel. So with that, I would like to ask Ms. Nino Shalidze, the Director of International Education Program, to tell us a bit about the funding opportunities for students if they would like to do a program at San Diego State or other international universities.
Sure, thank you, Walt. I would like to ask for permission to share my screen in order to Anna or an admin, I would like to ask for permission to share my screen.
You still not have it?
No, unfortunately, I'll try again. Nope.
Unfortunately, I
No,
can't.
you can share your screen now.
Okay. Yeah, I can. And
It
share.
doesn't seem yet.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, it works. It works. Good.
Yes. So good evening, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invite. I would like to briefly tell tell this story of IEC, the International Education Center, focusing on the opportunities, of course, for the student funding, but also give you a little bit of background information. What else do we do as a center? To start with, I would like to tell you that we have 4 major pillars of the program. One of them being the scholarship program for international doctoral studies. This program actually covers the doctoral scholarships as well as doctoral labs. We have started a couple of years ago a good initiative on advertising international doctoral studies. In Georgia, we have the partner countries where the interested doctoral schools come to present their activities, their programs, their offers to the students from Georgia. On the top of that, of course, we run the annual competition for students in doctoral studies willing to start or continue their studies on doctoral level abroad outside of Georgia. As we started speaking of doctoral studies, I would like to retrieve a step back and say that master's scholarship programs are also very popular and can contain or basically represents the 60% of our 60+ % of our scholarships given to the citizens of Georgia. Our scholarships are available in Georgia for the Georgian citizens, but also from de facto territories, people holding the travel documents in Abkhazia or Ossetia. They're also eligible for our scholarship applications. And master scholarships also are divided into subgroups, such as scholarships for STEM or for humanities, social studies, law, but also the separately standing scholarship program provides support for the arts students at master level. Have a professional development opportunity program. This can be anything from any public sector employee to the university professor or university leadership, where either in a very unorganized individual way, the applicant applies to training, to seminar, to professional development opportunity outside of the country, and we either match the funding or fully cover their expenses for professional development. The last but not least is our Alumni Project, where we also try to consolidate the accrued knowledge of our beneficiaries. When they come back, we have the particular funds that are only exclusively available for our alumni. We encourage them in getting together in professional groups, pro bono, working for the society, for the communities, for the society at large. One of the most successful projects, if I may say, or let's say the trend of successful projects, is like forming think and do tanks that are very scarce in Georgia, despite the big funding for non-governmental organizations. Something that is very new and is in cooking. I don't know if Chris is online still, but this is something that we have started with the US Embassy and IIE. We are working on bringing in ETA Fulbright program to Georgia. What is it that we do in terms of the scholarship schemes? We as a center, as a state agency, can actually give the open-ended scholarships, which but basically what it means is that applicant applies to selected schools, receives the enrollment certificate and comes to us with the enrollment certificate and kindly requests or requires funding for his or her studies. Such programs are called open-ended programs, hence we have a big number of participant countries in the programs. Anyone willing to go to study to Korea, to Swaziland, we're not limited in selecting or offering the different country opportunities to our students. And then there are also consortium programs or agreement programs, co-funded programs with international partners, such as SDSU, for example. This is a program between two partners. It can be a university and an agency. as ourselves, or it can be two agencies such as, for example, Institut Français and IEC that form a certain agreement on funding opportunities in particular school or in particular schools. In general, such projects are generally limited to the number of participating HAEs. And it very often has a very strict preference list of priority fields, of priority academic fields. As I mentioned, we have international scholarships for performing arts. We have cooperation projects. We have Fulbright scholarship, for example, that we fund together with the US partner. What we are also planning to do this year, we're going to look at the 7 years. This is our 7th year of the scholarship provision in Georgia. Look and try to recalibrate the programs and tighten the programs to the needs of not only the market requirements in Georgia, but also to see where we can be most helpful to the academic sector development in Georgia. I could, if I may, I can say that within 7 years, we have more than 12,000 inquiries or applications filed in our system. We have sponsored more than 1,000 students up till now. The competition the center holds is generally very fierce. We have one spot per 7.5 competition. What makes us different from what was in place some 10 years ago in terms of this state support, our application systems and our selection systems are all electronic and very transparent. We're very open to our partners in participating in selection, which was not the case before. So we hope that actually not only that we try to select the right applicants, we're also very open to accepting the best international practices in scholarship field. We're very open to the advice, international advice, and also are very open to the new tendencies in the scholarship and funding field. What I also wanted to add to the program that makes us most proud and allows us to basically go forward with new application, a new scholarship program schemes is no attrition rates in our program. What is it that we also do accept for the scholarship schemes, as I mentioned, is a university support program. So for those that are interested in terms of university development, we're also willing to discuss with the university's staff and faculty prep programs. However, this time we would like to more focus on the existing interest of the students toward the scholarship programs. And we would like to say that starting from last year, the Parliament of Georgia has accepted the part-time and support program and modular program support during the COVID, which means that actually we support students not only in full-time mode, but also those who study long given the COVID reality, which was not the case before. So for students who often ask whether and if they will be supported by the IEC, should they prefer to stay long distance from the university, the answer is yes, we will fully support them in their endeavor. We have between 25 to 30 countries annually. Our scholarship, as I said, our scholarship focus is mostly master program. However, PhD, we're very eager to increase the numbers. You may see the figures and the ratio of different sector ratio on the screen right now. As per the US, you could also see that US is one of the biggest funded, or let's most of the largest amount of students are funded within one country is the US by the International Education Center, and we plan to continue so. The interest for the education in US is very high. The ratio of male and female participation in the program is 55 to 45, and this is very general. We have scholarship programs that actually are presented by 90 to 10%. This is somehow the French Georgian scholarship program. I don't know why, but boys in Georgia probably think that France is not necessarily a country to study internationally for Georgian male population. I don't know what is the reason behind that. However, the average ratio is 55 to 45 in all programs taken together. Now, speaking of the application and the actual interest for the students to study abroad, what is it exactly, or to study in the U.S., what is it exactly that they have to do? Those of you studying in SDSU and planning to continue PhD studies in SDSU US campus, we have a separately functioning program, which will be announced within a month from today. And this program will be only announced and targeting the SDSU graduates of Tbilisi campus. There are about 4 scholarships annually that we give together with SDSU, and the program covers the PhD studies, integrated MA and PhD studies. The program started some 2 years ago, and we hope to continue it further. We also hope to open up for more academic concentrations in this particular program. Those of you who actually plan to study in the U.S. Anywhere but SDSU or in Europe, the scholarship programs will be opened up in a week. And I have copied from the web the actual timeline and the sequence of the application. I'm sorry, this is in Georgian, both here and also on our webpage, that actually depicts what are the stages of application and what are the stages of decision making and grant giving. I could say that actually, despite the pandemic, nor last year, neither this year, the number of interested applicants does not decrease. It's basically the same as last year in 2 programs that we have already finished the application cycle. So we hope to keep the high competition in the program. The deadline for the open scholarship programs will be, if we announce the program within the next a week, we will have 2 months open application period. The applicants will be expected to send us all the requested documents except for enrollment letters. Enrollment letters we require later on the stage 2 in May. In general, the application cycle is over, as I said, in the end of March. However, should the pandemic be in the way, some schools may not be able to actually produce the enrollment certificates. Should this be a case, the IEC generally considers this and shifts the application cycle or opens the application cycle so for this particular student so that they can actually fit within. So we had last year, we had a case when we had to postpone the interview session given the pandemic. However, by the end of June, the beginning of July, the selection process is over. The selection process consists of 3 steps, as everywhere else in the academic sector. One is the eligibility check, which is a technical check basically taken on by IEC. The international selection boards review the documents within 2 or 3 weeks, depending upon the flow of the application, number of the applications, and rates the applications, given the rating by sectors and by programs, by MA and PhD separately, and actually lawyers and let's say IT separately. We get ranking, and 30 top percent of each sector gets invited to the interview. In general, from 500 applicants, we have about 60 finalists. annually. And I'm talking about the master program only here. PhD, we're more open in terms of the application and then selected ratio. In general, we have lower number of PhD scholarship seekers than we would like to. Hence, the competition rate is lower, and also more students get selected for PhDs. In terms of selection, this is a question that a lot of our beneficiaries ask. We have the application process that allows to accrue up to 50 points on each step of the competition. So the first is the document evaluation by the selection board. And then when the evaluation is over, again, the top 30% gets invited to the interviews. One thing that I would like to mention is it is very important that applicants who come from the de facto territories or IDPs or have the socially challenging background they have additional points in our competition. The funding generally can be, of the selected applicants, can be full or partial. Full funding considers fully funding the requested amount, tuition fees, for example. There are cases when given the certain ranking, tuition fees are covered through 75% of coverage, while the living expenses are fully paid out. Something to mention is our scholarship consists of two parts. One is the tuition fee and another is living expenses, and both are covered by the IEC. The scholarships, very often students ask, how long do you pay the scholarship, or is it like one time opportunity for us? Do we have to reapply every year if our studies last longer than 1 year? And the answer is yes, we try to cover every single year of your studies. However, you have to reapply because this is a state organization and we go by annual budget. And the applicants who have been funded first year of MA or first year of PhD do not enter the competition with the newcomers. They have a separate track of competition. We only require GPA 3.0 or above for refunding and a student status. The funding generally lasts the standard time and requested for finishing the academic degree. So in general, the MA goes for 2 years unless it is written out for 3 years to last. And the PhD average amount is 4 to 5 years, depending upon the program. We do require by the end of the studies so that students return to their home country and stay in home for 2 years, returning to the community, and then they're of course free to go back and pursue and get new challenges, career challenges outside of the country. We also allow for 1 year of internship upon the completion of the scholarship period, should the internship be tied or bound to the academic, the new academic profile, the new profession that they have earned. That's pretty much it, what I wanted to tell the students, the prospective students of IEC. One more thing, it is absolutely vitally important for students to follow us on the news or Facebook, social media, to make sure that they actually learn when the scholarship program call is out. We're also open for the consultations. Unfortunately, now we don't have the vis-a-vis meetings with our students, but we have a lot of Facebook Lives that are immensely popular, and we answer more than 50 emails daily, and we have email and phone connection to our students. So we will be happy to answer any questions that the students have. I will be happy to answer any question now, but my colleagues are online for the for 5 days a week from 9 to 6. So we will be happy to assist you in your let's say attempts of application to acquire the degree internationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is really helpful. And I appreciate that overview. For this and other talks, if you have questions, we'll have a question and discussion period at the end of all the talks. So submit them online in chat, and Dr. Sergolazzi will organize them, and we'll get to as many as possible. Ones that we don't get answered, we'll pass on to the speakers, or if the speakers aren't able to be present, they can respond later. But so please send any questions or comments you have on the chat, and those will be organized and discussed at the end of all the presentations. Dr. Jankowski, who is the director of the doctoral program in geography. Peter, hopefully you have control of your screen.
Yes, I hope so too. Thanks, Walt. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good morning. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Hopefully, you should be seeing it in a moment.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. I'm just going to switch to a presentation mode. Just give me a sec. Very well. I wanted to take 15 minutes to tell you a little bit about the joint doctoral program in geography. The Department of Geography at San Diego State
Peter, sorry, I don't know if you intended, but we see your screen, so we see the presentation mode. So we see the next,
okay.
We don't. It's
yeah. Let me swap it. Is it better now?
It's however you want to do it. I just wanted you to know what we were saying.
Sure. Do you see this just one slide?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the for the prompt. I appreciate it. Yeah. So just, let me say a few words about the program. The program is offered by Departments of Geography at San Diego State University and the University of California, Santa Barbara. And it brings together two outstanding departments and institutions. The program has been characterized for a long time by a close collegial working relationship between faculty and students. Students will typically spend a minimum of 1 year on each campus, more typically 3 years at San Diego State University and 1 year at UC Santa Barbara. And they start and finish their work at SDSU. The program offers a unique opportunity to take advantage of both departments. Students get access to faculties both at San Diego State University and UC Santa Barbara. The doctoral committee is comprised of 2 members from San Diego State and 2 from UC Santa Barbara. Chair of the committee is always from San Diego State. Let me say a few words about the history of the program. The program started in 1991. So this year it will be 30 years old. The first PhD was conferred in 1997, and the graduate, Professor Stuart Finn, is a professor of remote sensing and directs a center of remote sensing at the University of Queensland in Australia. So far, 71 graduates of the program working in different areas of academia, research, government, private sector graduated from the program. The program has been ranked 8th in the US among the doctoral programs in geography, and we are quite proud of this. A few words about who are our students. 85%, roughly 85% of students come from outside geography at SDSU. So they come from other universities. 15% of students that enter the joint PhD program have a master's degree from San Diego State University in geography. Out of this entire pool of students in the program, about 30% come from other fields than geography. Also, 30% of our students are international students. Just to give you an idea, a flavor where they come from, on the example of this year, a group of applicants, we have applicants from Brazil, from China, from South Korea, from Italy, from Japan, and a few more countries that I'm just missing right now. But off the top of my head, I can tell you that we have a healthy pool of international applicants. In terms of our labs and facilities, students in the program will find outstanding labs and facilities at both universities. These facilities include both indoor and outdoor. You just have some examples of the equipment that we have. Drones equipped with cameras for various types of earth sensing research. Computer labs, we have computer labs equipped with high-end computational devices, GPU cards, where you can really do high intensity, large data computations. And the same goes from facilities at UC Santa Barbara. So students will have access to these rich facilities. In terms of research and study areas, so here's a non-exclusive list of research and study areas that students will typically pursue. Computational approaches to spatial analysis and Earth system science. This is an area that faculty at UC Santa Barbara is especially internationally known for. Also, watershed ecosystems analysis, which is the strength of both departments, biogeography, climatology, and hydrology. Remote sensing of environmental processes and urban dynamics. Again, this is the area of strength at both universities. Geographic information science is another area of strength, and the research shared by the faculties at 2 universities. And students in the program will typically engage in research in one or multiple of these areas in the context of their dissertation research, and most of the times working on funded projects. We also are very proud of the fact that a number of our students have secured dissertation grants from National Science Foundation in the US. So there are various sources of funding that support this research, this type of research. Some of our research done by us, faculty, and by students in the program is conducted in our local environment, and we have a very rich research environment. Just to mention the fact that we are very close to the international border, Mexico, which offers a number of transboundary research opportunities. Some of the research is done concurrently in the US, on the US side and on the Mexican side. Well, we also have ocean coast, which offers another set of research opportunities at the interface of the ocean and land, combined with climate changes that bring pressing needs for research. So quite a bit of research is offered and is done locally. And again, this is an exciting development for us. If you, as a prospective student, we're going to apply to our program. This is what we typically would be looking for, or we look for in our applicants. I have broken it down into 4 areas. So academic performance, where we will typically look for GPA, letters of recommendation, any evidence of scholarly work, published work, skills and research potential. We like to have people who know a little bit about programming or can program, because a lot of our research is computationally intensive. Applicants who have demonstrated proficiency in various productivity software tools, geographic information systems, statistical analysis, motivational attributes, evidence of organizational skills, attitude, motivation, creativity, communication skills, and also diversity contribution. So we like to attract candidates from diverse backgrounds and experiences. The application process starts in the fall, and the first deadline is December 15th, where the applications are due. We wait until January 12th to collect remaining materials for the application, and then we evaluate. And the evaluation of the applicants is done by 2 faculties at San Diego State University and at UC Santa Barbara. Once we agree to accept the candidate, we will offer letters, typically in the middle of March, and wait a couple of weeks for acceptance from the candidates. And if we end up having still open spots for candidates, we will offer the remaining spots in April. And by the end of April, we close the application process. One of the highlights of the program is that we offer guaranteed funding for those who are accepted. And we offer 2 different levels. Pre-candidacy funding right now stands at $22,800, and that changes, that goes up as we move into the future. And post-candidacy, so people who have advanced to the candidacy status, passed the candidacy exams, and are at the stage of finishing the dissertation, stipend is a little bit higher. We offer health benefits, pretty generous, medical and dental, and we cover tuition at San Diego State and UCSB. So all in all, this is a pretty attractive package. Now, what do our graduates do after they finish? So again, this is a non-inclusive list of examples of recent crop of graduates from the last few years. So among them, we have those who secured academic positions, postdoctoral fellowships. There's a data mining scientist among the graduates. There's an owner and co-owner of consulting companies, water resources specialist, senior director of data science, geographic information systems software engineer, biophysical remote sensing scientist, research ecologist, associate water scientist. That's pretty much it, what I have in this brief overview of the program. If you have questions, if you're interested, I very much welcome your inquiries. Here's my email address. So feel free to send me any inquiries, questions by email. I'll be happy to respond.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, to participants, feel free to submit questions online, and also, as Dr. Jankowski says, email him directly. It's an excellent program, and we're proud of it. Thanks for that presentation.
Sure, and I apologize for not sticking by. I just happened to have a class in 4 minutes.
Okay.
So I will be
okay.
gone.
Well, good luck with your class, and
Thank
we'll
you.
forward you any questions. And then, as you say, students are encouraged to write you directly.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks. We'll see you. The next presentation is by Douglas Grossman, the director of the chemistry program. Doug, are you there?
Yes.
Do you have control?
Well, we'll see. Yes.
Great.
So get there. So thank you to everybody. Nice symposium together, and I too, right after this, I have to leave for my class also. So I do. So with that in mind, let me start out by highlighting at the very top. My name, Doug Grossman, and my email address. Please email me if you do have questions. I am the co-director of the Joint Doctoral Program. And I also, along with my colleague, Tom Cole, we actually do a lot of the admissions work. So, so I could answer a lot, anything about the Joint Doctoral Program and a lot of things about our graduate program in general. We have about 50% each of master's and PhD students in our department. And a common way for PhD students to enter the program is from the master's degree. Some enter directly. There's two paths, and there's no, and I think that's a strength of our program. So somebody can come in general, somebody can come in to the master's program and maybe they're not sure whether they want to get a PhD or not. They can see how research is, how classes are, and see whether the subject excites them, and then decide to continue or with a PhD or not. And we have a diverse group. I would say about 1/3 of our graduate students are international, 1/3 are from, maybe a little bit more now, are from California, and the rest are from elsewhere in the United States. The PhD, so Professor Jankowski described how it's a joint doctoral program. For us, the partner is UC San Diego. They are about 20 kilometers away. That's close by American standards. And a trolley system is being built and almost finished. So if you come, probably you will be able to take the trolley instead of driving in a car. But so we've got 3 tracks. There's the dedicated master's program, as I said, or start in the master's, transfer to PhD, or direct admit to PhD. Our graduates work in a variety of sectors. They've founded their own companies and are faculty members. I'm going to talk a fair amount about this slide and the next one, and then kind of quickly go through some examples in the time I have of individual faculty research. But we have state-of-the-art studies in the traditional disciplines of chemistry. And the big majority of our faculty are funded usually by a major funding agency, or there's the American Cancer Society, which is also pretty major. A lot of the research is cross-disciplinary, and sometimes students have 2 advisors in the department. And even if that's not the case, for example, I collaborate a lot with 2 other professors, and they're with me on the grant. And so even though this, my students have 1 advisor officially, there's a lot of meetings and, consultation and teaching by, the other colleagues of mine. It's a very collegial department. 23, it's kind of just the right number, I think, not too big, not too small, just right. So here's some examples of, what you would call maybe table of contents graphics. You know what? I'm going to minimize that. Sorry, I don't know if you're seeing that. I apologize. Put that down there. So we have, from organic chemistry to biochemistry, assembly of viruses, supramolecular chemistry, very practical things like wastewater treatment and energy. We have access. Actually, this particular high field NMR is not at SDSU, but SDSU students can use it. It's at UCSD. But we have 4 NMR machines in our own facility at SDSU, and nanoparticle chemistry. So we have the entire, spectrum, no pun intended, of chemistry is represented in our department. So now I just wanted to focus on a few labs. I have like 18 of these slides. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but so Crystal Sol lab has a lot of fun, even on Zoom. You can see here up here. But what they're studying in the lab is the molecular mechanisms, the molecular mechanisms of disease using a variety of techniques. The Holland lab looks at material science, mostly through NMR, but other techniques. And some of these materials are actually, many of these materials are actually biological origins. So for example, spiders create a variety of very attractive materials. And so for example, some of the graduate students are growing spiders and then extracting proteins from the spiders and analyzing them through a variety of techniques. This is about my lab. We study catalysts to do either organic chemistry or energy related research. And as you can see, so our current students typically come from a variety of places. Here's Guja from SDSU Georgia, Turkey, Iran. And then what do the students do? Here's some specific examples. These 2 students work at a local company that was founded by this student, or again, local companies is a common pathway. The Purse lab is in organic chemistry. They create new fluorescent molecules that can be used to study DNA or RNA. And they can also look at, the potential drug applications of these new molecules, as well as supramolecular chemistry. Manal Swerjo studies epigenetic and transcriptomic modifications in microbes and humans. So basically, that's what happens after the RNA or DNA are made, right? And so there's actually protein crystallography involved, as well as enzyme kinetics and a variety of other techniques. Gustafson lab does organic chemistry, and a number of drugs that are made actually exist as 2 stable forms, and each form has a different pharmacological effect. So the Gustafson lab studies that. They also have developed ways to make one form or the other, and he's actually founded his own company. Forsberg is considered to be an analytical chemistry. She does metabolomics and molecular networking studies, using a lot of advanced mass spectrometry techniques and data analysis. Yongkwang Lee looks at living systems and the physical and analytical chemistry of them. So even single molecule chemistry in a biological setting. Jing Gu's lab focuses on energy And so this, I've shown this graphic a few slides ago. So not just fuel generation, but also using wastewater components to help generate that fuel. It's a very exciting area. And Regis Comperta's group actually focuses on chemical education. So, you know, basically the science, if you will, of education. And so for those of you that are more interested in, you know, the educational side of chemistry, her group would be a great choice. And so she studies a lot of these things. How do you research what is a good way of teaching? Yang Yan's lab uses, actually, he has a lot of experience in the energy area also, as you can see here, ways to convert hydrogen and H2S, but also he's using some of the concepts from solar energy research to help power organic chemistry. So that's pretty exciting. The Harrison lab at SDSU studies detection of things like drugs that athletes are not supposed to be using, and also detecting other things like components from smoke, you know, cigarette smoke, and also life on other planets funded by NASA. And I think this might be the final one I show in the interest of time. So this is from the lab of Tom Huxford. He studies protein crystallography. And yeah, this is really an amazing, these are really amazing structures. Actually, you know, growing the crystals and then actually determining the 3D structure. In this case, it's really interesting because this antibody, so this is relevant now to COVID, right? An antibody recognizing a novel antigen. So this is what's being recognized right here. So I'd like to stop there. Maybe I'll quickly go back to the beginning there. So again, my email address is at the top, and I'd be happy to answer questions you have about our program. But yeah, I too have to go get ready for my class.
No, we understand. Thanks very much, Doug. If you and actually all the speakers, I would like to post all the PowerPoints for the students. Great. So I know you had more slides. I think, and all of our slides, many of our slides are dense, so it'd be good for the students to be able to look at them with more time and also pull the websites and email addresses off. And
sure. So let me know. I could send you this slide deck so you can see the rest of them.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I intend to do the same thing. I'll probably be in the same situation you are. Okay, have a good class.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
The next presentation will be on geophysics by Dr. Kim Olson, the director of the doctoral program in geophysics. Kim, you're muted right now.
All right. Thank you, Walt. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, thanks.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my slides?
Yep.
All right. So, hello everybody. My name is Kim Olson. I am the SDSU co-director of the SDSU UCSD Joint Doctoral Program in Geophysics. And I am going to give you a little overview of the current state of our JDP. So, even though it says geophysics, the program has an emphasis on earthquake science and applied geophysics. So relatively specific. It was a relatively new program created in 2010. It's also a small program. We currently only have 8 JDP students. We have what we call the joint graduate group with 15 members. That is the group of faculty involved from both institutions, from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, from UCSD, and from SDSU. And I'll go into mention the members later. So the program really combines the complementary strengths from UCSD and SDSU, where the UCSD strength in geophysics are geodesy, remote sensing, and observational seismology, more on the order of global scale seismology. While the SDSU strengths are directed in earthquake geology, rupture dynamics, computational, strong motion, earthquake geology, coastal and marine geology, reflection seismology, and subsurface imaging, in particular ground penetrating radar analysis. The structure of the program is that the JDP students spent the first year at the IGPP, the Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography at the UCSD. And the students are taking the same set of core classes as the students in the Scripps program. The students are expected to take the departmental exam after the first year, after taking the core classes at Scripps. And the exam is, so the exam is based on those courses the first year. The students basically spend pretty much all the time typically working on those courses the first year. And then after that, they most of the time move to SDSU and work with their SDSU and potentially UCSD mentors. The time to graduation is between 5 and 6 years. As I mentioned, it's a small program. We have a relatively new program. We have only seen 9 students graduating so far. Here's the mix you can see down here: international, national, gender mix. They have all landed good jobs either in the industry or at research institutions, academic institutions, federal research organizations. Here's you can see where they are. Several at in the industry up in Pacific Northwest, a lot in Southern California, at USC, and one in Colorado. So good, very solid record of the candidates, the graduates finding good jobs. You can find information about the program that I may not have time to cover right now under the geology.sdsu.edu webpage, departmental webpage. Under graduates and the joint doctoral program, you'll find 2 different places, either the opportunity section or the success session. So those are the places to go to for more information. Under the opportunity section on the webpage, you'll find this flyer here where you can see the members of the joint geophysical group. It's a mixture of faculty at Scripps and UCSD and at SDSU, and you'll get a little rundown of the program and the emphasis. And my email address as well is there. So if you miss it here, you can find it there, and you can email me further questions. Under the success part of the page, you can see, you can check out what the students that graduated, what they produced in terms of publications and awards, and what the thesis was about. So, and it's kept up pretty well to date. So it's a good place to get more information about the students and their projects. And you can also find all the peer reviews papers listed under that success page. We recently had our first program review. I believe it was end of 2019, just before COVID hit. And so that was really our first real reality check of how the program was viewed from an objective review committee. And we were very pleased to see the report from the review committee from both UCSD and SDSU and outside. A couple of notes from that report was that the students completed their degrees, have all secured employment at research centers, companies, US Geological Survey, USC, Microsoft. By all measures, the committee viewed the JDP as a strong program that has been meeting its goals, and that it leverages the strong curriculum of the reputable Scripps Institute of Oceanography program. So I'd like to go through I would like to go through some of the projects and the expertise and foci for research from the different SDSU joint geophysical group members, starting with myself. So my expertise and research focus is primarily 3D simulations of wave propagation, strong ground motion and site amplification, earthquake dynamics, nonlinear effects, parallel and high performance computing, and visualization animation. So a lot about simulation of wave propagation in complex elastic, viscoelastic media, and computing ground motions for future earthquake scenarios that we expect will be very damaging for the communities, such as the San Andreas Fault here in Southern California, and that involves computing the rupture propagation as well. Dr. Shu Ma in the geology department focuses on the mechanics of subduction zone earthquakes. He has studied the physics and generation of tsunamis. He looks at how to improve tsunami early warning, and also strong ground motion prediction. Dr. Gillian Maloney in the Maloney Marine Geology Lab is emphasizing paleo landscape reconstruction of the Pacific continental shelf. She is an expert in seismic reflection imaging using multi-beam side scan, electromagnetic methods, ground truthing, sediment, using sediment cores and remotely operated vehicles. And she aims to reconstruct landscapes, and she's also done several archaeological and paleoarchaeological investigations of past buried sites using seismic and site scan. And she goes out on cruises a lot. Dr. Matt Weingarten, relatively new addition, he is a hydrogeology expert, and he studies the effects of fluids on earthquakes, and how the contribution of fluids can trigger earthquakes and so forth. He's done a lot of work in induced seismicity from oil exploration, and I would say that is probably his main focus right now. But he's also very much looking at other aspects of earthquake generation. Dr. Rafael Almeida is our newest addition. He's actually not here yet. He's being held up by COVID-related issues from Ecuador, but he's expected to arrive in the spring here sometime once he gets green light. His expertise is structural geology and its connection to geophysics. He's used seismic data a lot and processing the data, acquisition, and working with geodesists and seismologists. So he'll be a good addition to the program once he will be allowed to arrive to SDSU. Finally, Dr. Alan Gons, our department chair. Dr. Gons is a ground penetrating radar expert. And so which is part of remote sensing. So he's using those methods and GIS for evaluating coastal change. He's been working a lot in Australia and New Zealand, and in particularly trying to understand the mobility of sand dunes in those places and Southern California, looking at the geological clues from paleo storms, using unmanned aerial vehicles like drones to understand landscape change, and basically a quaternary geologist in terms of many of these features. So that is what I was planning to show you for the geophysics JDP. I will be happy to answer any questions. I'm sure there's many other things you might be interested in from the program, but in the interest of time, I think I'll stop here.
Great. Thanks very much, Kim. I really appreciate it. Looks like things are coming along well. Thanks again. So the Department of Biology has 3 PhD programs. It has a cell molecular biology PhD program, an evolutionary biology, and ecology. So the last 3 presentations will be on the 3 PhD programs from biology. And the first of those 3 will be the cell molecular biology by the current director of the program, Marina.
Walter, thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. And I would also like to thank you, all our colleagues and students in Georgia, for staying late just to learn about our program. It is my great pleasure to introduce Joint Doctoral Program in Cell and Molecular Biology. This is one of the oldest programs at CSU, and well, definitely one of the oldest programs in San Diego State University. It was organized in 1985 between San Diego State University and University of California, San Diego. The program was driven by our faculty and our students who knew and know still that graduate student is a foundation of strong research. The program stays one of the flagship of PhD program in CSU system, and it unites currently faculty not only from biology, but also chemistry and computer science. The research span across cell and molecular biology as well as microbiology field. It would be almost impossible for me to capture and introduce all great research in all faculties. So instead I split in different groups. We have animal genetics, health, cancer research, developmental biology, which I depict in red, immunology and microbiome interaction, host microbiome interactions, environment and environmental engineering, as well as the metabolic engineering, system engineering, to improve the way how we produce, fabricate, manufacture in the way how we can restore environment. And our colleagues from biochemistry. I capture all faculties who are looking for graduate students, who will be accepting graduate students who have very strong research. And I encourage all of you, if you're interested in cell and molecular biology, to use the links below here and search on the area of your interest and outreach to those faculties, speak to them and learn more about their research. At the same time, I would like to talk what our students like about our program, what our program can bring to the table. First of all, it is a small program size. Currently, we have 33 students and there are between 19 faculty. And that means that you really have great and meaningful mentorship. You have this daily communication with your mentor, your research driven together with your mentor. At the same time, we bring interactions and collaborations with UCSD. And the program at UCSD is about 200 students. So you have an opportunity to grow as a scientist, to build your network from very early stages at San Diego State University. We have strong collaborations with the top institutions in San Diego, and the Salks Institute, the SRI, Scripps Institute of Oceanography. So as you can see, it's just spread across, and it's just the top ones which I mentioned. We also have strong research program here at San Diego State University, supported by internal institution, which is Viral Information Institute, as well as Molecular Biology Institute. And of course, our students like the sense of the community. I put all those pictures together so you can see how diverse group is. And at the same time, it is very supportive workplace. Our students have their own graduate symposiums. They organize as a community, they outreach to each other. They build network to interact and support each other as well. Most of our students are supported through SDSU, through tiership, as well as many have fellowships as sponsored by grants from our faculties. Now, program overview. The program is designed to be completed in 5 years. The average time our students spend in the program is 5.2. It includes 2 years core curriculum. In the first year, it would be mostly at San Diego State University. In the second year, that would be core courses taken at UCSD. All students who join program have laboratory rotations, and they will have to complete at least 3 to pick your favorite research area and the mentor who fits your needs the best. In year from 2 to 5, that would be research, teaching, and professional development. Our students have incredibly strong records. By graduating, they have at least 6 publications per student. And I also outlined for you just in 2020, the students as the first afters came out, publication came out in Nature Protocols, Nature Communication, Life Clinical Therapeutic, Viruses, Science, Microbial Engineering, Applied and Environmental Microbiology, and it's just a very top list of the publications. Where our students go after PhD, some of them stay in academia. We have very broad biotech network. Many of them go to different biotech companies. People move to national labs as well as the government agencies. Ours decide to have a career as a science writer. So that opportunities again are unlimited. And from the very early stage in your program, we're trying to tune it to your interest and where you envision yourself in 10 years from now. What is admission process? In general, it will take 3 steps. First, you complete the application at CSU site. There where you should submit your official transcripts as well as the international students you would require to submit test scores. That's done by mid-January. After that, there is additional step, which is supplemental graduate application of all documents in biology department and interfolio package. So the first application deadline is same time, mid-December. By mid-January, all your referees should submit their letters and you will be responsible to submit in your official transcript and test scores. The review starts in late December, early January. We interview students in January and February. This year it was done by Zoom. For most international students, it would be done by Zoom too. And finally, we make final decision on acceptance by mid-March. Let me move forward. So what are admissions files? In general, you will have, as I mentioned before, you submit your initial application with relatively short statement why you would like to join our program. However, when you submitted an interfolio on biology website, you need to provide at least 3 pages of statement why you would like to join our program, where you envision yourself in 5-10 years, why you think that our program is the best fit for your research and professional development. You will need to submit your resume, our curriculum vitae. We require you to submit at least 3 letters of recommendation, and you can submit after 5. Starting from next year, we will encourage all of our international applicants to outreach to our faculty, talk to them, and ask the faculty to submit a recommendation letter on your behalf. That would make your application to stand out. That will make your application to be much stronger. Finally, you will also submit your TOEFL scores. And this year, starting this year, the program also accepts Duolingo scores, which can be submitted online, and copies of your unofficial transcript. That is a basic overview of best documentation that you supply to our program. But what we are looking for is that you really research-driven person, you have expertise, at least initial one, you have a potential to develop further, and you have a connection to CSU in a way that you see what we can give you to grow as a professional, as a researcher, as a scientist, as a future professor. With that, again, I'm saying that we have great program. In overall, we have great students, and we really cherish this cooperation and collaboration with mentorships. If you will have any additional information, please require any additional information, outreach directly to me if you would like to talk about research. If you need some more information about admission process, I would appreciate if you will outreach to very great our administrator, Patricia Swinford, and both contact information is provided here. And with that, once again, I would like to thank you for your attention and staying with us. Okay.
Thank you, Marina, for that very nice overview. I appreciate it. The next program in the Department of Biology is in Evolutionary Biology by Director Elizabeth Waters. Liz?
Hi. Well, again, thanks everybody for this opportunity. And as the other speakers mentioned, thanks for staying up late. So I'm not the first person to show you these lovely pictures of San Diego. So these are the Torrey Pines, where I've done some evolutionary biology research, and the Borrego Desert, where I'm collaborating. And then here we have the Mount Laguna Mountains. And so I represent the Evolutionary Biology Joint Doctoral Program. And one of the amazing things about being an evolutionary biologist in San Diego, Southern California, is the incredibly diverse and fascinating natural experiments in adaptation and evolution that are present in Southern California. So in one day you can be in the coast, the desert, the mountains. And so our scientists here in the Evolutionary Biology program take advantage of these very close and very exciting environments in which to study basic evolutionary biology questions. So let's see. So this is our website. And so if you're interested in our program, please feel free to take a look at our program. And I have links in this web page, in this presentation, which will be available to you. And my email will be on the last slide. And so please feel free to contact me. So our evolutionary biology PhD program is relatively new. It's less than 15 years old. We are a relatively small group. But we feel that that is a big strength of ours because it means that we can give a lot of individual attention. Our joint doctoral program, so in our program, we have both master's and PhD programs, and our PhD program is joint with University of California at Riverside, which is about an hour-and-a-half drive away. And so what are the areas of expertise in evolutionary biology? So we have a few major areas where our faculty expertise is centered. And so the most important one is being biodiversity studies. And so we're interested in studying the diversification of life. And we have a number of faculty who are active in this area. Dr. Berta has recently retired, Dr. Bohanek, Dr. Burns, Dr. Flores Renteria, Dr. Hadeen, Dr. Kelly, and Dr. Reeder. And so in biodiversity studies, we're interested in exploring all of the patterns of diversification and adaptation in both plants and animals and insects in California. And so one of the things that's really exciting, and I'm sure that Dr. O'Shell will be mentioning this as well, is that California, the floristic province of California, is a world biological, a global hotspot. And it is in fact the only one in North America. And so we live in an incredibly diverse place. And so our scientists take advantage of this to study. We also are interested in comparative and integrative biology. And so for instance, my research is focused on comparative molecular evolution and comparative adaptation. And we have a number of other scientists who are interested. In particular, Dr. Clark is very active. He's also in the Ecology program, and Dr. Zayas and Dr. Zeller are very interested in doing comparative molecular biology. Dr. Zeller and I do molecular evolutionary biology. And then at the center of all of our research is phylogenetics. And this is understanding the tree of life, and my research uses the techniques of phylogenetics to answer questions about how genes and proteins evolve. And then we have population and conservation genetics. And this is the study of diversity of gene pools and looking at genetic variation within populations. So the graduate program at in evolutionary biology, as I said, includes both a master's and a PhD program. And then here's a link to all of our graduate students. And so please take some time, if you're interested in this program, to look at our students, see where they come from and their interests in, and you'll see that there's a very great group of involved, active students, and we have a number of international students. So if you were to join us, you have to apply and be accepted. You would certainly not be the only international student. We have international students from Africa, from Iran, from Italy, from all over the world. And so we welcome international students. And so please do not let that be a barrier to you applying. Our research facilities, and we have kind of a lot of standard research facilities. We have a lot of field stations that Dr. O'Shell may be talking to you about, but we also have access to a supercomputing consortium, which is extremely helpful. Now, we are partnered with University of California at Riverside. So it's one of the University of California campuses, and Riverside is in Riverside County. It is more in the drier desert part of California. And it's about an hour and a half away. There's no public transportation to get to University of California, Riverside. So you do have to have a car. And we're trying to make that a little bit easier for people. And this is a very rich and active department of ecology, evolution, and organismal biology. And I also have links on the PowerPoint slides that you can look at later to this department, so you can really take a nice look at the department, who's in the department. And it's a very exciting and rich department. They also have master's programs. And so they have a lot of graduate students, and they're interested in a variety of issues in terms of animal behavior, biomechanics, evolution, cell biology. And we also have a number of faculty from cooperating departments. And so we have entomology and botany faculty who are cooperating. One of the things that's really interesting about University of California, Riverside that might be interesting to some of you is that it is also an agricultural research station. So you see a college, this department that we're partnered with is in the College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. And so for instance, one of my students, now PhD students, we're doing a collaborative project on the evolution of genomes of citrus. So we're interested in the evolution of orange species. And so we're looking at citrus evolution. And part of that is to understand how you can improve citruses, but we're taking more of a basic sciences approach. But anyway, just to let you know that it is definitely possible, if you have more of an agricultural interest, that this program might be a good fit for you, because there are opportunities to do basic research in collaboration with agricultural scientists that can give you an insight into both areas of research. That's where my student is collaborating with researchers at Riverside in their agricultural research station on citruses. And so one of the exciting things, so why do we have these joint doctoral programs? Why isn't it, what is the advantage of participating in a program that is a joint program? And one of the things that I tell my students is that you get double the impact because you have interactions with two sets of faculty. You have interactions with two sets of graduate students, and that increases your networking capabilities. It broadens your insights. And then also, one of the exciting things about UC Riverside is that they sponsor a dizzying number of seminars. So you'll probably find that you can't go to all the seminars that UC Riverside provides. And so there are weekly seminars that our students are encouraged to attend when they're there. And so there's the Department of Ecology, the EEOB seminar, and then there's a lunch bunch seminar, and then there's a genetics and genomics and bioinformatics graduate seminar. There are also seminars in the plant sciences department, in entomology, in plant pathology. And so there are lots of aspects of very rich, diverse intellectual environment. So I'll talk about the success of our students, and then I'll talk about our program. So to sort of get you interested in the program before I tell you the kind of the details of the program, right? So why would you even be interested in a program in evolutionary biology? And so if you're interested in natural diversity, it's a great program. Our students also, in the process of addressing evolutionary biology questions, gain a deep ability to do computational biology and bioinformatics. And so it is not a bioinformatics program per se, but it is a program that requires bioinformatics techniques, in which case you answer a biological question, and in the process you gain bioinformatic and computational capabilities. And so where do our students go? So we have graduated about 12 PhD students, and they have all been highly successful. So our PhD graduates have gained nationally competitive postdoctoral fellowships with National Science Foundation and a number of other private foundations. And we have had graduates hired already as assistant professors, even though we are a relatively new program. Our graduates have been hired by government agencies in conservation genetics, and probably the single largest place where our students end up is in the biotechnology or bioinformatics. And so our graduates have been hired to a wide range of biotechnology companies, but primarily in bioinformatics positions. One of my students recently was hired into a cancer genetics program. And the reason that cancer genetics was excited to hire an evolutionary biologist is the appreciation that cancer cells evolve. And so if you're going to attack cancer cells, you have to understand how they're changing, and that's an evolutionary process. And of course, as we know, the reason we're all sitting in our living rooms is that we have this virus, and the virus is evolving. And so there's been a growing appreciation that the techniques of evolutionary biology are applicable to a wide range of questions. Okay, so who's who? My name is Elizabeth Waters, Dr. Waters, and I'm the EB PhD grad advisor. We have a program assistant named Medora, and she answers lots of our questions. There's also in our department a graduate assistant, and then we have our associate chair and our chair. And then at UC Riverside, we have a graduate advisor, and then we have a program administrator. And so here we have some links to our faculty and the UC Riverside faculty. and the organization of our program. So here, what you can do is you can see the links of all the different faculty that you might want to work with. So the organization of our program is that year one, you do coursework at SDSU, you attend our seminar, and you start your research program. In year two, you go to UC Riverside, you do coursework there, you attend seminar, and you conduct research in collaboration with somebody at UC Riverside in pursuit of part of your research program. So you sort of have a host at UC Riverside. In year three, you come back to SDSU and you complete all your qualifying exams. You take your written qualifying exam in the spring, and you take your oral qualifying exam in the fall, and then you're done with coursework and exams until year five, or sometimes year six, where you do your defense of your dissertation. And so then you should have at least most of 3 full years where you were only doing research. You have your first 2 years, you're balancing both research and coursework. Let's see. So program requirements. So students have to attend seminars each semester. So you have to go to our seminars. At UC Riverside, you have to attend 2 seminars. And then at UC Riverside, you'll give a presentation. And then they have at UC Riverside a course in Introduction to Graduate Studies, which is during which you'll learn about lots of opportunities and programs for graduate students. But the main focus is that you will write a grant proposal under the guidance of faculty at UC Riverside. I think this is a fabulous training program. Okay, so how to apply. So the application deadline is December 15th, 2021 for the first part of the application. And then you're given about, as other faculty had mentioned, through Interfolio, you're given a few more weeks to fill out the application, but you really have to fill out the first part of your application by December 15th. This is very, very important. I know this has been mentioned by other faculty, but I really want to reiterate this. This is true, I think, for every single program. Prior to applying to this PhD program, you need to identify and contact a potential graduate research advisor at SDSU. So long before December 15, you need to be going through the lists of faculty, you need to be finding their papers, you need to be reading them, you need to be looking at their webpage, and you need to be thinking about what kind of things motivate me, what do I have experience in, what am I interested in, and contact 1 or 2 potential graduate advisors. Admission into our graduate program is contingent on a faculty advisor saying, at the admissions meeting, yes, I will take this particular person into my lab. So we don't have a program of rotations where students can try out different advisors. You are admitted directly into a potential research advisor's lab. And so you must both identify that faculty member and have a faculty member say, yes, I will support you. So this process of identifying a faculty advisor is something that you should be working on from almost any program by the summertime, or September by the very latest, if you were to apply in December. All of our students, as they are to many of the other programs accepted into the program, are given financial support in the form of a teaching assistantship and a waiver of tuition costs. There are a few other costs to the program, but that can be explained once you're accepted. But if you go online and you see, oh my gosh, this much thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of tuition, you don't have to worry about that. If you are accepted, you are given a waiver. And again, as a reiteration of what other faculty has said, previous research experience and/or a very well thought out research interest plan is strongly encouraged. So we want to see that you've been thinking about research, that research is what's driving your application, and that you at least have some understanding of the questions that you want to address. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. And I just want to reiterate that my email is on the slides, and I really want anybody, I want to encourage everyone to contact me if you're interested. I can answer any questions about this program, and then also reach out to the individual faculty members. And one of the things I also want to tell you about is that exciting, intelligent, hardworking students are the lifeblood of any university, right? So do not hesitate to contact us and say, hey, I'm interested in your lab. Faculty love it when people are interested in their lab. So please don't be shy. Don't be shy about contacting faculty. You'll find that we love to talk about our research. And so we'd be very, very happy to hear from any one of you. And you can feel free to email me. And at that, I will turn it over to Dr. O'Shell, who's our next speaker.
Thanks very much, Liz, for that nice presentation. Yes, so the last program we'll talk about today is ecology. Let me see now if I can figure this out. You see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So ecology, it was the second PhD program created in the CSU system. So it's almost 50 years old now. It was actually initially started with UC Riverside and then later moved to UC Davis. So it's now with UC Davis. Davis is the furthest campus that we collaborate with away. It's about 500 miles in Northern California. The advantages of Davis as a partner is just a very large and diverse ecology faculty. So they have about 125 faculty associated with the graduate group in ecology. So almost any area of ecology that you want to get further information on or courses in, Davis is going to have. The advantage that most of the program is at SDSU is the same as other directors have mentioned. It's in a more intimate program. There's more personal care yeah, it's more personalized and more attention. So I'm the director. My email is given here in my lab. Our coordinator is Jamie Ryan. And this is the link for the PhD website. Any questions you have, feel free to contact me. If it's procedural, what is the deadline, which by the way, for us is December 1, not December 15. Procedural things or routine matters, you can contact Jamie, but if you have any questions about anything else, areas, people you might want to work with, please contact me. And as has been said, and just said by Dr. Waters, we require that there is a major professor at San Diego State that's agreeing to take any new student on. So we also don't accept any students at large. So it's really important, not only just to have talked to somebody, but really build a relationship with a faculty member so that they know you, you know them, and you really are both pretty comfortable that there are mutual areas of interest and synergy in the way you work and go forward. And again, I can be of help in that. I mentioned the first two, as other people said, the expected time for the program is 5 years. Our program typically includes financial support and tuition. The financial support is a combination of some TAing and some graduate research assistance. Of course, we have a number of students that are either funded by their home countries or have national fellowships or other fellowships, but we pretty much guarantee funding for anyone in our program as long as they're making good progress and things are going well. The target time is 5 years in the program. We will fund a sixth year if it's awarded. And because of COVID, we've actually even extended that in some cases, but typically 6 years is the absolute length that a student can be funded. And we really want to see students graduate after 5 years. We have 18 research active faculty that are mentoring PhD students in the ecology program area. And we currently have 27 PhDs in the program. And that's about the number we typically run. We have several main areas of focus within the program. One is restoration ecology, and that's both marine and terrestrial. On the terrestrial, it's primarily wetlands, but also grasslands. In the marine, there's research on kelp, seagrass, abalone, lobster restoration. It's a very strong area of ours. There's a focus, and these are overlapping areas in many cases. There's a focus on marine, coastal marine ecology. This includes community ecology, population ecology, global change impacts, acidification impacts, and remediation. There's one professor has a project, for example, using algae to remove pollutants in San Diego Bay. Another major area of focus is ecosystem ecology and global change. This includes the direct impacts of increasing atmospheric CO2 on ecosystems. It includes climate change impacts on ecosystem function and structure. A major area is trace gas feedbacks. As the climate changes and atmospheric CO2 changes, the response of the biosphere changes, and that feeds back then, and in many cases, amplifies the rate of change. So feedbacks between climate, atmosphere, and ecosystems is a major area for us. And then within this, there's quite a bit of work in isotopes. One of the areas is tracing water supplies and sources, both in natural systems and urban areas. There's also a focus within this group on carbon sequestration, both in ecosystems and agro-ecosystems. In agricultural systems, the question is how can we either reduce carbon emissions or increase carbon sequestration in agricultural systems. In natural systems, there's often some management, even in natural systems, and can we do that in a way that increases multiple benefit? In the case of chaparral, can we reduce fire risk, increase water yield, increase habitat, and increase carbon sequestration? And the answer seems to be yes, we can, if we're a little bit smarter about how we manage systems. We have an emphasis on animal behavior and conservation with many target organisms, but including turtle, dolphin, mountain lion, mule deer. And then we also have a focus on both quantitative ecology and on systems modeling and predictive modeling. And there's some examples to the right of each of many of these areas. The aircraft is one of the few university-owned flex aircraft that flies at about 10 meters and measures energy, carbon dioxide flux, and water vapor flux, and methane flux. The bottom right-hand corner is our experimental vineyard at one of our field stations, and the kelp forest just off the coast here. Our timeline is very similar to the one that Dr. Waters just gave. The first year in the program, the focus is on taking required courses or courses that will help in your qualifying exam and help in your research, designing your research project, and hopefully initiating your research. We ideally would like students to be well into the research before the second year when they go to Davis, where they can continue their research, take courses that aren't available at San Diego State. Again, because of their very large faculty, there's just an incredible breadth of courses. It's and one of the problems that we have are students sort of like acting like kids in a candy shop and taking too many courses just because there's so many neat courses to take. As you know from Dr. Balston's presentation, the US system is different from the European system in that most European systems in that there's a significant coursework element and the qualifying exam. There are pros and cons, but the pro is that as you develop your research area, you can really take courses you may not have thought of taking as an undergraduate or weren't available that will really support your research. In the third year, the first semester coming back from Davis, you take the oral qualifying exam, and this is based on 5 subject areas, and in year 1, you've developed a plan that lays the background of courses that you'll take to support it. So we expect students to do well and not have a problem with the qualifying exam. Once that's done, the emphasis really is on the research. Almost all the requirements are met at that point, and the time is available for doing your research and networking, attending national meetings, presenting at national meetings. That continues in year 4. By year 4, if not 3, it's great if students are publishing their early results. Year 5, one should be concluding their research, publishing, and submitting their dissertation, and then presenting an exit seminar to the faculty. We require that students have at least 1 paper accepted and 2 other papers that are approved by their committee submitted for publication before they graduate. We have, we're really lucky in the facilities that we have, and this is not an exhaustive list by any means, but it includes 2 major field stations over 1,000 hectares each. Santa Margarita is near the coast in northern San Diego County. It's in southern and into Temecula. It includes chaparral, coastal sage scrub, oak woodlands, riparian, and it's mostly a pristine area. But there are also experimental vineyards for climate change research and experimental orchards on the property that are used for research and projects. The experimental vineyard is part of our program to help plan to continue quality, wine production under a changing climate, both because of elevated CO2 and climate change. And this is one of the logical areas for collaboration with Georgia. The experimental orchard will be focused more on heirloom species and alternative species to the current commercial species. The Sky Oats Biological Field Station is also in northern San Diego County. It's further to the east. It's about, Santa Margarita is about an hour drive. Sky Oaks is about an hour and a half drive north of the campus. The main areas of research there are trace gas exchange, biospheric exchange of water, energy, CO2, N2O and methane in the planning. One of the main foci is carbon sequestration. What are the ecosystem services of these systems, including carbon removal from the atmosphere? And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, how can we manage to maximize carbon sequestration? Sky Oaks also has a number of different habitat types: riparian, oak woodlands, chaparral, some coastal sage scrub, and a nice mosaic of fire history with stands that are older than 160 years, which is very unusual for California, and stands that have been recently burned in wildfires or in experimental burns. And then on the marine side, we have the Coastal Marine Institute Laboratory, pictured in the bottom right. It's right on the channel of San Diego Bay. It's well supplied with boats and tow vehicles, dive gear, laboratory space, running seawater, experimental musicosm. So the support for marine and terrestrial field work is really great. In addition to the local research, we have research spanning, from the northernmost part of North America, of the US to the South Pacific, including Arctic research in the North Slope of Alaska, marine research in the Aleutian Islands, work on processes, coral health, carbon flux in American Samoa, and initiating in French Polynesia. In San Diego, I mentioned some of the ongoing work. There's marine work, extensive marine work in San Diego, and some major research in Baja California, including on biospheric trace gas fluxes. So we have strong collaborations with the national institutes in Mexico, particularly in Baja California. These are some of the topics, some of the faculty and some of the topics of potential collaboration or research subjects, things that that you might be interested in if you're thinking of applying to San Diego State. Nick Barber is working on grassland restoration and conservation and trophic interactions and the impact. Rulon Clark on predator-prey relationships and conservation, especially involving rattlesnakes. Kevin Hovell, marine conservation and dynamics. He's working a lot with seagrass, both its functions and conservation and restoration of seagrass beds that have been largely decimated locally and globally. Also on lobster and abalone conservation. Chantal Lai uses isotopes for various purposes, but one is elucidating water cycles, both natural water cycles, for example, determining where the water is coming from that are used by plants in a particular ecosystem, but also what happens to what the sources of water in urban environments are. Rebecca Lewison is heavily involved in conservation under global change and human impact. David Lewison is a microbial ecologist, also director of the field stations. He's working in the Arctic on microbial processes affecting trace gas fluxes in the Sustainable Agriculture Initiative and in the effect of invasives on ecosystem function locally. I'm working in marine and terrestrial ecosystems and in agricultural management to ameliorate global change. I'm looking at the effect of global change on wine and vines in California, and I would like to see that expanded to Georgia. And comparisons of marine CO2 between Georgia and California. So we're studying the effects of vegetation, human impact on carbon dioxide fluxes, uptakes or losses in San Diego Bay, off campus, offshore in Southern California, as well in the tropical areas I mentioned. Xiaofeng Xu is an ecosystem modeler looking to improve models to better predict impact of global change. He is working on cutting edge models, including of carbon dioxide and methane fluxes. Donatella Zona is also working in biospheric greenhouse gas fluxes and working in the Arctic and South Pacific and working on the feedbacks on global change. The deadline, as I said, for the PhD program is December 1. Hopefully, so it's passed for this year. Hopefully by next year, we'll be starting to return to normality, and it will be practical, possible to get visas and travel. But in the meantime, we've tried to think of ways to further the interaction between researchers at San Diego State and in Georgia, and also support research of and graduate degrees of Georgian students, short of Georgian students joining our master's or joint doctoral programs. So one thing is looking at areas where a student could be enrolled in a Georgian graduate program, but mentored in part by an ecology faculty and do their work in Georgia. So Xiaofeng Xu, for example, feels that he has modeling projects that Georgian students could work at in Georgia while we're still in the COVID lockdown. Depending on how much restriction there is in Georgia, I have some field-based projects and also some literature projects that could start. One would be initial research on coastal CO2 fluxes in the Black Sea for comparison with California, initial research on grapevine varietals best suited to future conditions in Georgia. You have a really impressive, unique common garden with a large number of Georgian and international varieties of grapevines co-planted. I think there's over 700 Georgian varieties, which is a real opportunity to look for varieties that are going to be more appropriate for future conditions that we expect. And then finally, I think work could be considered to start looking at the effect of elevated atmospheric CO2 on the quality of wine berries and wine production. So these are some things that could start at any time. And then the next chance to apply to our program will be December 1 of next year for following fall start the program. I forgot to mention that I really like to see my students start the summer before the fall, because I find that this is before courses start or TAing starts. It's a really great to have the summer to engage in the research and get at least understand the different systems we're working in and instrumentation, and hopefully even get a project decided and started. And I think it saves, in my experience, it saves a year on the PhD program. I've put together slides for many of the ecology faculty. I won't go through them now because we're over time, but these will be available if you want to look through individual faculty members, what they're doing, some of the slides of their research, and other possibilities or more detail. So we'll stop there and let's see, what a messy desktop, huh? And ask Nodar Sergaladze if he would like to initiate the question and discussion period.
Thank you, Walt. This is my pleasure to moderate this question and answer session, but let me say a couple of words before. I would like to thank everyone for these outstanding presentations, and everyone, all the participants and they are sending me some private SMSs, how do they like them. Everyone asks to share the presentation if we can, to send all the presentation, and because they found that all useful information were provided in the presentation, including emails, names, and websites where they can look for more details. And all the presentation had information about selection process, how to apply, and I would like to especially thank Nino Chalize for providing presentation about funding opportunities. And I'm more than sure Georgian applicants can directly send SMS or can the email or Facebook the CIE, and they can get the answer. One of the questions that some of applicants ask, how the COVID-19 affected study and research process in doctorate education in the SDSU California. This is one of the topic that our academicians are interested to know. So anyone, Walt, can you provide this information?
Could you repeat it? Sorry.
How the COVID-19 affected research process and study process at doctorate programs that were presented today?
Well, I think it varies a bit by program, and other directors that are online can add to what I say. For the graduate division, made the decision to support students if their work was delayed by COVID. And we have a few cases where students, for one reason or another related to COVID, are, I think, up to a semester behind, and the university has been allowing that and supporting them. Having said that, I think in ecology, and certainly in my lab, we've been able to get all the permissions necessary to conduct research, and students have been making good progress, and access to our field sites has been possible. Access to the local coastal has been possible. So much of the research is continued on schedule. There have been some problems. American Samoa is closed. There's no exchange with American Samoa possible. So we have students that haven't been able to go and do the research there. So they're delayed by up to a year and a half. And Alaska, the state of Alaska imposed fairly stringent requirements on travel to Alaska. So instruments haven't been visited, and students are a bit delayed that are doing research in Alaska. So we're all hoping, vaccines are being rolled out now. We're all hoping that by this time next year, we'll will be operating much more normally, but that's what I can say. But if anyone else has a different experience in their program, it'd be good to hear it.
One more question. Did vaccination started at SDSU California yet for students and for the academicians or not?
Yes, vaccinations have started. It's generally been a pretty organized. I, for example, have gotten my first vaccination. My wife has. It's going to take a while to get through everybody, but they have started. We've had some setbacks. There was one batch of 1/3 vaccines that were causing an allergic reaction that had to be rejected, and you know, so but it has started, and in general, it's being done by profession, so healthcare workers are getting priority, and it's being done by profession and by age. So it will be a while before students without any conditions or special circumstances, probably this summer, will be getting vaccinated.
So a couple of students sent me the notification that most of them will directly send the emails to the provided recipients regarding the specificity and specific topics of the program. And please don't be surprised if they get, if you get the request and I ask them to put as a subject SDSU Georgia mini-series kind of.
Yeah, great. That'll be very helpful. I look forward personally to getting those questions. I think there's tremendous potential for collaboration between Georgia and SDSU. We are both value our wine production, have quality wine production. The topography is similar. We both have coastlines. There's high levels of seismicity, of earthquakes in both locations. Fires are an issue in both areas. So I think there are a number of areas of collaboration that are just natural, and anything I can do to help that, facilitate that, I'm happy to do.
Yeah, okay. And Walt, I would like to remind you that today only students from the science programs attended. So tomorrow we have the programs from engineering and computer science programs, and the day after tomorrow we have programs presentations from the education and psychology and healthcare divisions. So, and I expect the great activities for tomorrow and the day after. So I think this is it, and we have no more questions. And I would like to thank again all the participants for the great presentations, and looking forward to receive the presentation file for sharing with the audience.
Yeah, maybe Anna could just send out
yes
the speakers for the presentation. The speakers will probably have to compress their PowerPoints. Mine dropped from 280 megabytes to 9 megabytes.
We can use the Google Share Drive or any other system to share those presentations.
Yeah, but either one, but there are ways to solve it.
Okay.
So I also would like to thank all the presenters and participants, and again, the support from the Millennium Foundation and the State Department, and from Education. Thanks very much for giving that great overview.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so no, people are, if people have an interest in any of the other topics, are welcome to attend. Nobody's restricted from any of these sets of presentations. So there could be co-interest in geophysics or computational science, for example. So that'll be, I think, presented tomorrow. Okay, thank you all. And we'll see some of you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone, and see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Thank you and good luck to the students.
Thank you. See ya.